When the young couple floated back to the ground, their lips were still locked and the world around them had returned to normal, and not a changeling except Mothball was in sight. The fillies and colts hoped out of their hiding places and cheered. Discord was still struck and all, but still angry. "At some point they should come up with the air," he exclaimed furiously. Applejack rolled her eyes. "Hun, the boy just saved our lives, not to mention he brought Zany back." When the pair finally pulled away, Mothball was smiling like an idiot. Wow. His eyes still spun around in circles and animated hearts popped out behind his head. This made Screwball giggle. Her friends rushed to her side and embraced her. "That was amazing!" Apple Blossom shouted. "Heroic!" Cinnamon Stick added. "Cool!" the Tray Pies piped. "Romantic!" Cinnamon Roll sighed. "Awesome!" Prism said, but then stuck out her tongue out, even though it did involve kissing. "So you guys are not mad at me?" Screwball asked hopefully. "Of course not," Dinky insisted. "We forgive you." "Yeah," Cinnamon Stick said, putting his hoof on his bandaged head. "It wasn't that bad." Meanwhile, Mothball was trying to whirl in circles, lost the memory of the bliss he just experienced. "Uh-oh," Apple Blossom chuckled. "Screwy, I think your kiss did more than save the world. You've made the poor little boy all loopy." The group laughed. Screwball, of course, broke the hug and walked over to her cult friend and put her hooves around his shoulders to stop him from falling over. Mothball eventually returns to his senses, only to get lost in hypnotic swirls. "I'm so proud of you, Screwy." They turned around to see Twilight, who had her horn back. "You lost yourself in your emotions, but at the end, you didn't lose sight of it, which was truly important. And the love for your family, the love for your friends, and," the Alicorn smirked, "and the love for your cult." Mothball then blushed nervously. "Princess, I know I've done some bad things in the past, but I swear I was careful around ponies. I became a vegetarian and lived on chocolate." Twilight laughed. "You are pardoned, Mothball." The Alicorns murphed and dismissed when Discord stepped down in front of her. Mothball sunk underneath the Draconiquest's strict glare. His arms were folded and his face wore a frown. The changeling clung to Screwballs for leverage, and she gave him a reassuring squeeze. Discord glanced down in between the two. Neither of them said anything for a while. Fenny sighed and extended his paw towards the changeling. Mothball looked at it unassuredly. He glanced at Screwball, who was grinning excitedly. She decided to let go of him and nudge him towards Discord's paw. The prince gazed up at the Draconiquest, his eyebrow raised, as if to say so. "Do you want my daughter or not?" The changeling slowly raised his hoof and placed it on his paw. As soon as it made contact, Mothball felt a jolt of electricity shot through uncontrollably, which of course he wrenched his hoof away. Discord started laughing and revealed a joy buzzer in his paw. He clutched his stomach and collapsed to the ground. The Pie family was laughing as well, as Screwball and the others giggled and just grinned at the amusement. Mothball looked over at his mare friend in confusion. "What are you laughing at? Your dad just electrocuted me." Screwball chuckled and patted him on the back. "Baby, that was just a way of showing that he likes you." The changeling looked at the others. Cinnamon Stick gave him a shrug. "It's true." Mothball then found himself snickering. Everyone went over to see when Rainbow Jack emerged from Derpy's house. Her face was solemn. She could see that it was normal again, and that Screwball was holding hooves with the changeling. Well, all that mattered was the news she was about to deliver. "Rainbow, what's wrong?" Applejack inquired. The Pegasus hung her head. "It's Fluttershy." Discord hung over the door to Derpy's room open. The Dash twins then back to the corner, allowing him to see the one scene more clearly. Derpy was standing off to one side, sniffling as she could hold a plate of muffins. Rarity was kneeling down on the bed, removing the stethoscope from her head. Fluttershy lay on the cot, completely still. The unicorn looked sadly up at Discord and shook her head. He walked slowly to his wife, and his eyes locked entirely on her frozen face. He gently put his fingers on her neck. No pulse. He laid his paw on his shoulder. No heartbeat. No breath. As the others crowded around the doorway, gasping at the sight, Screwball rushed forward, and her brother in her hooves. She pushed in the middle of the room. She looked to Rarity. "Is she?" Rarity hung her head and nodded. "No!" Discord uttered. He lifted Fluttershy's lifted body and held her close. Once the yellow soft fur was now pale and stiff, he sobbed into her pink May. Its rosy scent had gone stale, and her strands of silk had turned into brittle. He pulled away and slightly looked over at her. Never again he would never see the sweet smile, nor hear or see her sparkling teal eyes. He would never hear her enchanting voice or delicate laughter. She was gone, for real this time. Screwball squeezed Zany as tears fell from her eyes. Mothball pulled her into an embrace and allowed her to cry on his shoulder. He stroked her mane sympathetically. Fluttershy's friends were all shed their tears, but they knew neither of them were heartbroken as Discord. "I'm sorry, Fluttershy," he whispered, running through his hand through her fur and mane. "I'm so sorry. No amount of chaos can replace my love for you. Please don't leave me now. I love you, Fluttershy. I love you so much." He pressed his face into hers. "Please come back to me." As he did that, a golden tear fell from his eye and landed on Fluttershy's forehead. Slowly, her colors returned and her heart started up again. Her eyes were fluttered open and looked at her husband's teary face. "Discord?" she uttered. Discord gasped and looked at her. "Fluttershy?" The others lifted their heads in disbelief, their mouths spreading into smiles. Did we win?" Fluttershy asked. The Draconequest nodded, his tears falling with joy. "Oh, Fluttershy!" He embraced his wife, surprising her as she returned the hug. "How?" Applejack breathed. "How was this possible?" "It isn't!" Twilight exclaimed happily. "There's no way she... But, oh, who cares?" Screwball left Mothball and ran to her parents. "Mom!" The couple pulled away and opened their eyes and arms around their daughter. Fluttershy wept at the sight of Zany. "Oh, my baby," she cried. "I thought I lost you." "We thought we had lost you," Screwball sniffed. "Our family," Discord sighed. "Together at last. Promise me we'll never split up again." The Draconequest shook his head with a laugh. "Never." Mothball smiled as the family embraced to each other. He was still happy that they were whole again, but it made him so sad. The Changelings were the only family he had ever known. Now that he had left them, he had no one. He had not even a place to live. Fluttershy then noticed Mothball and surprised to see him there, but given by the fact that Discord had not vaporized him, she figured that things were sorted out between them now. She reached out his hoofs towards him, and Mothball beamed and took it and pulled him in. Pinkie Pie blew her nose in the handkerchief. "It's so beautiful," she cried. Then everyone smiled sunnily. "Hey, you know what this calls for?" Everyone laughed. "Yes, Pinkie," Twilight said. "We definitely do." The park was covered in streamers and balloons, and ponies were dancing and going to Vinny Scratch musics. The ponies were crowding around Screwball and Mothball, thanking them for saving Ponyville. Their attention was diverted when the chariots of the royal sisters were on the grass. Every pony bowed as the two princes walked towards Twilight. "Did we miss anything?" Luna inquired. The purple alicorn nodded. "Quite a bit." On the other side of the park, the colts and fillies were playing pin the tail on the pony. Prism took the blindfold off and gasped, "I won!" The Tri-Pies cheered and pinned a blue ribbon onto her mane. They squealed with the music change. "Oh," Blueberry squealed. "I love this song." "Me too," said Raspberry. "Dance off," Cherry declared. Prism was about to follow the triplets to the dance floor when she spotted Gemstone, sitting by herself with her head down. The Pegasus filly walked up to the unicorn. "Hey, Gem." Gemstone looked up, surprised that some pony was talking to her. Prism held out her hoof with a smile. "Do you want to come with me and have this dance with us?" The unicorn's face lit up. "Really? I'd love to." Rarity grinned and watched her daughter join the other fillies. Her smile then faded as she caught a sight of many other couples dancing together. The fact that Special Sun Pony was not with her really made her sigh sadly. Rarity, her head whiffed up and turned to see the stallion race towards her. She could not believe her eyes. "Fancy Pants?" Her husband then stopped and caught her breath before answering. "Yes." "What are you doing here in Ponyville?" He grabbed her hoof and looked up desperately in the eye. "Rarity, what happened between me and Fleur de Lis was nothing. I did not encourage us getting back together. She forced herself upon me that I do not love her, nor did I have intentions of loving her. I swear. Still, I should have told you about seeing her earlier. Please, please forgive me, Rarity. I love you and only you." Rarity's eyes were watery. You came all the way back from Canterlot to get me back?" He caressed her face with his hoof. "Of course, I wasn't going to lose you. Not without a fight." She could not remember the last time when he was so romantic. She flung her forelegs around his neck. "I'm the only one who should be apologizing," she insisted. "It was me who jumped to conclusions, and I should have listened to your side of the story first." Fancy Pants smiled in gratitude. "My dear, why don't we promise that we be open for each other, and never again hold back our feelings?" Rarity pulled away and nodded. "Agreed. So, with that being opened with each other," she took a deep breath and spoke rapidly. "I'm tired of living in Canterlot. Oh, and the ponies are so rude and vulgar. I think we should move back to Ponyville. I'll be a lot closer to my friends and business will be so much better there. And I preferred it if you stopped patting me on the head on public. I feel like a trophy wife. Oh, and you hardly spend any time with Gemstone. You should take her to school every day from now on. And oh, darling, that bow tie is so wrinkled and you really need to fix that with a new dry cleaner." Applejack watched from the couple from the afar and shook her head with a smirk. Spike approached her, rubbing the back of his head. "Rarity told me that the changeling said to you," he admitted. The cowgirl glanced over and hugged her head. "Do you really think I picked you as a last resort?" She met his eyes. "No, but sometimes I can't help it but think You would have married her if I had not spoken up. You hardly noticed me before, and, well, I'm not. He laid his claw on her shoulder. You're my wife, AJ. Sure, I liked Rarity at first, but I love you. So, you don't think Rarity's prettier than me? Spike smiled and lifted her chin. Rarity's pretty as a gem, but you, AJ, you shine like gold. Tears then fell down from her cheeks as Applejack embraced the beloved dragon. After explaining the day's events to the princesses, Twilight felt a tap on her shoulder. She whirled around to face Flash. The golden Pegasus was not wearing his armor, and it had been a long time since she'd seen him like that. He looked down on his hoof and drew circles around the ground. Twilight was about to ask the princesses to leave, but they were already gone. They were silent for a while and said that nothing had been said. That they looked at each other awkwardly. Hey, Flash finally said. Hey, Twilight repeated. Another silence. Look, Dick Stallion sighed. I know you hate me, and you probably don't want to speak to me. I'm sorry. His ears perked up. What? Twilight then stepped forward. I'm sorry what happened between us was stupid. I mean, what we had was wonderful, but the way it ended up was just plain stupid. I didn't even bother trying to patch things up with you. I've been an idiot. Flash Sentry lowered his head. I'm sorry too. It takes two ponies to end a relationship, and after all, and what it's worth for a while, I never want it to end. She blushed slightly. Can we start over? Or at least try to become friends again? He raised an eyebrow at her. No. Her face smiled. What? I don't want us to just be friends. Then why did you come here? To give you this. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a small blue box. Twilight gasped as he opened it, sparkling with the MFS ring. I was planning to give it to you before we broke up, Flash explained. You don't have to say yes, but at least I want you to have it. See, I saved up a lot of money to get this, and I was hoping that someday you might... Yes? He looked up at her. What was that? Yes! Twilight shouted. He was surprised by furiously pressing her lips against his. He smiled and wrapped his legs around her. Twilight and him had got a wonderful kiss from him, but she silently swore never to doubt him again. Derpy was dancing solo. She did not mind. She had accepted being a single a long time ago. Her daughter was always a little off with Cinnamon Stick, but the mare was not lonely. As long as Dinky was happy, she was happy. Derpy? The Pegasus froze in the sound of the voice that she had not heard in years. She slowly turned. She was not dreaming. There he was. He had not changed. Brown coat, brown mane, blue eyes, hourglass cutie mark. He even wore a green bow tie that she'd given him. And she had still made her weak in the knees. The doctor turned his head to the gray unicorn with wonky eyes. Is that? Derpy nodded dumbly. Her name is Dinky. She's beautiful, he said, facing her again, just like her mother. The Pegasus blushed. Is she happy? Yes, Derpy replied, but she needs her father. Derpy, he said seriously, you understand that I'm only here for a moment. She sighed. Dates? Cybers, well, that was a good guess, she said. I'm sorry I left you abruptly, Derpy. You see, there are other worlds that needed me and I had to come back properly to say goodbye. Derpy shook her head. I don't like goodbyes. If you're going to say anything, say it to Dinky. I want her to meet her father. The doctor nodded nervously at the young mare, dancing around with the brown colt. All right, he said. He approached the filly and did not see him at first, but when she did, she stopped and mismatched her eyes and squinted at him. Do I know you? He smiled. No, but I'm a friend of your mother's. Cinnamon Stick rolled his eyes. Yeah, but what's that all, by the way? The doctor laughed. Smart lad there. Isn't he your boyfriend? Dinky blushed. Yeah, you guess you could say that. Well, I know this doesn't mean much to you, but I approve. He turned to leave. Dinky only watched him curiously. What? She called. What did you say his name was? He looked over in the shoulder. They called me the doctor. Dinky's eyes widened and she continued to watch the stallion walk over to her mother and embrace her. Her mother was sobbing and looked as if she didn't want to let him go. You did a good job taking care of her, he whispered. Derpy said nothing, only tightened up his grip on him. I love you, she sniffled. He pulled away and gazed into her eyes. I love you too. Dinky then recognized the stallion. She had been seeing him a couple times before at the schoolyard, when he was younger, of course hanging out with her friends, when he had watched her. By the way, her mother was looking at him. It was clear that it was not just some stalker. When she reached up to the conclusion, he disappeared into his small, tall, blue box. Dinky raced towards him. Dad, wait, she called. Dad! She then came to a halt and the box faded out, making a strange noise. A few seconds it was gone. Derpy approached her daughter and patted her on the back. It was him, wasn't it? Dinky asked. Her mother sighed. It was, Dinky. The filly sniffled. What did he say? He's needed somewhere else, but he does love you, Dinky. She wrapped her ring around her daughter. Your daddy loves you. Discord and Fluttershy decided to get away from the festivals and walk to an empty area of the park. Their alone time together was long overdue, and the first thing they was to share a passionate kiss. I should never have doubted you, Discord said. I should have known that you would never betray me, he chuckled nervously. I'm such a nutcase. Fluttershy smiled. It's okay. It's all in the past now, she glanced back at the party. Are you alright with Screwball and her cult friend? Well, he's not exactly what I had in mind, but he does rescue both our children, and Scurry seems to be happy, he grunted. Does he really have to move in with us, though? Now, Discord, you know he can't return to the hive, and he did help us bring back together, so at least we could do is give him a place to stay. I've already given him my daughter. The next thing you know, he'll be asking for my throne. Why, if I could ever get a paw or claw around his neck? Honey, Fluttershy gasped. He sighed. You're right. You'll take good care of my Scurry. It's just that... He turned away. I don't want to lose my little girl. Aw, Daddy! He looked up and saw Screwball hovering over him. She had to listen to the conversation. Not on purpose, for she and Mothball had been taking a stroll too. Screwball floated down and hugged her father and around his neck. I'll always be your little girl, she declared. Discord smiled and wrapped his arms around the filly. No matter what would happen, no matter how big she would get, she would always be his daughter. Screwball and he would always be there for her. For he was her Daddy Discord. Well, that was a long My Little Pony fanfiction. But, you know, that's something you guys all enjoy. And that, my little pretties, was Daughter of Discord, a My Little Pony fanfiction written by DisneyFanatic2364. My final thoughts on this story? This is actually a really good, decent and really well-made sequel to Bride of Discord. Now, I could definitely say that this story was actually really cute. Like, at certain parts of the story was actually really cute and really well made. There were parts of the story that got me, you know, a little emotional, especially when, you know, when I thought Fluttershy was gonna die. Like, I was, like, getting emotional at certain parts. But I could definitely say that this was actually a really well-made story. Really well-made story, and it was really awesome. Like, I could definitely say, I remember seeing this story back when, you know, back on YouTube, like, at least a few, well, you could definitely say a few, well, I can actually see, I remember reading this, you know, a few years ago, and I actually found this story to be rather good and well made. I actually remembered, you know, seeing this story, you know, back, you know, when I was younger. And this is based on the audio drama too, so if you guys want to check out the audio drama, I highly recommend you check it out. It's a pretty good story, if you admit. I will admit, this story was, oh my goodness, it was so amazing. So, you Disney fanatic, this was a really great job. I definitely have to say, it was a pretty good story, and I could definitely say it was really well made in detail. So, I actually remember seeing this movie when I was a young kid, and well, not movie, but like, I remember seeing this back when I was, you know, younger. Like, I guess I saw this when I was 17, and I actually remembered, and I loved this story. Like, the audio drama was flat out amazing, and it was really, really amazing, but of course, it was a pretty good concept when it came to the case. Now, I could definitely say there's like a third sequel to the Bride of Discord series called Son-in-Law of Discord, which I don't think I will narrate it anytime soon. I don't know why, I just don't plan to narrate it anytime soon. But I could definitely say it's a really well-made story, so I could definitely say there's definitely a lot of great concept when it came to that story, and yeah. To Disney Fanatic, you did a pretty good job with this story. I'm definitely gonna say this was actually a really good story. It was really well made. It was a pretty amazing story, and I actually found this story to be amazing and well made. I definitely have to say, when I first saw this story, like on, well, the audio drama on YouTube, I actually fell in love with, you know, this whole concept. Like, this concept reminds me of The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride. You know, this whole concept and even the plot is just kind of almost based on it. It's just really well made in detail. Now, I could definitely say a lot of fanfiction sequels are not really that good. I'm not saying that this one is, no. I'm saying, you know, a couple of the sequels I've seen were just not necessary to a degree. But if it's an official sequel, then maybe that could be different. But with that being said, I definitely have to say that this story was actually well made and detailed. It was amazing, really well made, and it's just flat out awesome of the whole concept itself being like that. So I could definitely say that this one was actually a really good story. So, with that being the case, I'm going to sit here and say this right now that I do like how the good grammar was going on with the sentence structuring, the storyline, everything about it was flat out amazing. It was just really well made, and I definitely have to say that this story actually played out really well. So I definitely have to say that this story actually did pretty good in regards to that. So with that being said, I definitely have to say that the story was pretty good for what it was. For what it was, this story was actually really amazing. I definitely have to say, I remember watching this movie, the audio drama. And if you guys want to see it, it's on YouTube, by the way, if you guys want to check out the audio drama. So I could definitely say, if I had to say one thing I wasn't really too crazy on, there were maybe, like, the grammar was good and all that, but there were a few run-on sentences in the story, there were just a few run-on sentences in the story that kind of made the, story a little hard to read. Like, there were a few run-on sentences, and I think that might be maybe due to the lack of proper punctuation marks at certain parts. Like, I'm not saying all the other chapters, but there were just a few parts, though. And there was even a few grammatical errors that I did spot in the story, but other than that, it was pretty well made in detail. And it's a really good sequel to, Bride of Discord. I think this is actually really well made in detail. And I really do have to say that I really do like how this story went out. So, I know I'm going to try to keep the review as short as I can because this story was really long. Like, oh my goodness, people. This one was like, I guess a couple more chapters longer than than Bride of Discord. So, with that being said, that was the only complaint. It's not a big one, but just a little minor one. But other than that, the story was actually really well made in detail. So I could definitely say there's no really major complaints or anything about the story. I could definitely say this was pretty well made in detail. So, with that being the case, my little pretties, I am going to be taking a break from reading My Little Pony stories for a while because I know I kind of said this is going to be the last My Little Pony story I will do for now. Like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to be reading any My Little Pony stories. I did not say I'm not going to read them anymore. I'm just going to take like a hiatus from reading My Little Pony stories because I've read quite a few of them on my channel. So maybe in a few months or so, maybe I'll read another one in the future. But other than that, I could definitely say this was actually a pretty well made story. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the review because I already explained what I liked about it and what I didn't like. And it's on fanfiction.net. If you guys want to check it out, feel free to. So, with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say right now that this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these, I guess you could say fan fictions, but if you guys want to look at it as a creepypasta, that's totally fine. Now, with that being said, my final rating of the story would have to be a 10 out of 10. Great story, great concept, really well made. It's a really good sequel. It did give me the feel to The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride. It was really well made, really well written. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into the story, and I do appreciate the whole everything about it that was time and effort was put into the story. So with that being said, what did you guys think about this, creepypasta? Well, I know it's not a creepypasta, but if you want to call it a creepypasta, that's fine. But what did you guys think of this story? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out here, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.